Ahead of the Canadian Grand Prix, there was plenty of talk about the intra-team championship battle that was developing at McLaren and whether a collision was coming between the two. The team and the drivers were honest. Eventually, the two would clash on track, but few would have imagined it would happen so soon, and in the manner it did. A shocking mistake from Lando Norris saw him end his own race with just 4 laps remaining, allowing Piastri to open a big gap at the top of the championship and encouraging more questions about his mentality as a potential champion. Today, I'll check out that incident, what the drivers have to say about it, and why it is creating questions about whether Norris will ever be able to win a championship. So don't go anywhere. After qualifying at the Canadian Grand Prix, things look pretty bleak for Lando Norris. He could only manage 7th fastest in Q3 and was over half a second slower than his teammate. With a 10-point deficit in the championship to Piastri, it wasn't the result he wanted. Fortunately for Norris, Piastri had only managed P3 himself, so there wouldn't be any free air for him to run away into at the start of the race, which meant there was a chance. It was a shock to see neither of the McLarens on the front row, the first time it's happened all season, but it was a symptom of a track that didn't suit their car. Team boss Andrea Stella explained that the issues they were having was down to the style of corners in Canada. The drivers are either on the brakes or accelerating out of the corner. There's very little mid-corner phase, where the car isn't braking heavily but also hasn't started accelerating out the corner. That means that the MCL39 struggled for grip, something Norris concurred. It's just very low grip. I think first of all, it's one of the bigger things, and therefore the car balance just never comes together as much as what it does on other tracks. Probably just low grip, and some of the curb riding bumps, which just hurts us, it seems, more than some others. As the season has developed, there have been questions raised about Norris's mentality as a potential champion. The uncertainty over how he would handle a prolonged title battle has been prompted by his own comments about how he handles the pressure. A qualifying crash in Saudi Arabia left him 10th on the grid, while fellow title challengers Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri started on the front row. After that mistake, he said, "I'm probably putting a bit too much pressure on myself at the minute, not because of any reason, and not because of the championship and all these things. I just put too much pressure on myself because I want to do well. Like, I want to do so well. I want to be pole. I want to win. I want to be perfect. And I think I need to accept a little bit more that I'm not going to be perfect, and I'm making mistakes because I'm trying to be perfect, rather than the other way round." In Canada, it looked like that hunt for perfection reared its head again. At a track where McLaren simply weren't good enough, Norris tried to compensate for the deficiencies of the car and ended up overdriving it in qualifying. After his first Q3 run, his race engineer was heard over the radio reminding him to just hit his braking markers instead of trying to gain time in the braking zone by braking later, a classic sign of trying to overdrive the car. The advice didn't hit home though, as on his second lap he hit the wall on the exit of turn 7. With qualifying finished and Norris starting out of position, it was all going to come down to Sunday and any kind of recovery that Lando could put together. The team talk Saturday night and Sunday morning must have been about damage limitation, and that's exactly what it looked like Lando was doing. Starting on an inverted strategy, meaning the opposite tyre order to the frontrunners, Norris drove well on the hard tyre from 7th on the grid and running long to his first pit stop to come into contention for the final podium place with Antonelli and Piastri very late on. With Piastri losing out while lapping back markers, Antonelli managed to pull out of DRS range, and Norris snuck within a second of Piastri. He had the use of the DRS overtaking aid for several laps, and on lap 66 dived down the inside of his teammate at the hairpin to take 4th place. Piastri got the cutback on Norris out of the corner, and they drove down the back straight towards the final chicane side by side, Piastri on the inside. Approaching the last corner, Norris braked earlier than Piastri, with the aim of getting a quicker run through the chicane and attempting a move into the first corner. With a little toe, it looked like it was going to be a move done for Lando into turn 1, but inexplicably, he tried to make a move down Piastri's left into a gap that was never there. Oscar was covering the inside, trying to make it hard for Lando, and in a moment of madness, Norris seemed to decide that there was room there for his car. Even if there had been, he would have been half on the grass going around his teammate, but the pit wall was there, and all Lando could do was drive into his teammate's back left tyre, removing his own front wing, plunging his car into the pit wall, and throwing away at least 10 championship points as he ground to a halt at the end of the pit wall. Even if Norris hadn't made the move stick on Piastri at any point over the remaining 4 laps, he still would have only lost 2 points to his championship teammate, leaving the gap between the two at 12 points with 14 races remaining in the season. But with his retirement, the gap between the two is now 22 points, and questions are being asked over whether he can close it or not. But before I talk about that, if you are enjoying the video and want to catch all the news and analysis of the upcoming European leg of the season, then make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to F1 Reverse. Thanks a lot. With the Constructors' Championship all but guaranteed for McLaren at this point, the only thing left to fight for is the Drivers' Championship, and McLaren have made their stance clear on that. The two are free to race. Lando knew that. He didn't ask for Oscar to move so he could have a go at Antonelli, and the team didn't ask Oscar either. These two are now only focused on the Drivers' Championship, and in Canada, that pressure seemed to crack Norris. Lando said he made a fool of himself by colliding with Piastri. "I didn't expect to pass Oscar on the outside into turn 1. It's just, I should never have gone for it, I guess is my complete hindsight thing. I thought he was starting to drift a little bit to the right, so I thought I had a small opportunity to go to the left, but it was way too much risk, especially on my teammate. So happy nothing happened to him. I paid the price for my mistake." Norris went on to repeat a sentiment that he shared often over the past month. The rule at McLaren is clear. Racing is allowed, contact is not, and the team comes first. Both drivers know that. They've raced to those rules for the past 2 seasons, and they both respect the rules, their team and each other. Norris was incredibly apologetic for his mistake, saying, "I've let down the team, so that's going to stay with me for a little while. But at the same time, part of moving on is trying to put it behind you and crack on with the next weekend." Moving on isn't as simple as standing in front of a microphone and saying you're going to do it. In 2 weeks' time, the two of them will be back on track in Austria at the Red Bull Ring, the site of another Norris incident that was terminal to his championship challenge last season. But moving on over the next 2 weeks isn't just about this incident with Piastri. It's about the greater impact on his overall season, his standing at the team, and the questions he's encouraged about his mentality. This has not been an easy season for Norris so far. He was very much McLaren's leading driver last year. That was expected to continue this season, but his teammate, whose entire personality radiates steely cool, has been far more convincing. Oscar has 5 wins to Norris's 2. He's ahead 8-4 on the qualifying head-to-head, and Norris has been making mistakes, particularly in qualifying. You only have to read the headlines from the F1 media to see that opinions on Norris are moving. Now in his 7th season with McLaren, the belief that he's a future champion is fading. The race described him as too clumsy and too panicky to challenge Oscar, saying the Australian has his teammate rattled. The BBC, who will often back a British driver to a fault, are questioning whether Norris has what it takes. And Damon Hill described the Canadian Grand Prix as disappointing from Lando. When Norris has made mistakes this season, he's headed to the media and spoken about how he's disappointed in himself, how he struggles to back himself, and how he can't make any more. His honesty and bravery to do so should be commended, but when you speak like that and invite the questions about it onto yourself, those statements infect you. You start to believe that they really are true, that you can't back yourself, and that you aren't good enough. On the other side of the garage, though, is a driver who seems to have the mental game solved. Mark Webber, Oscar Piastri's manager, has said that whether he finishes 1st or 5th, in the evening they just have a pizza and it's the same state of mind. Of course, there's some nice excitement after the race, but then it's done and they move on. They don't focus and dwell on the mistakes, they accept them and move past them. That ability to compartmentalize a result, whether it's good or bad, creates a calm in Oscar whenever he arrives at the track and lets him get the job done. In as close a battle as Lando and Oscar are in, being able to remove yourself from the bigger picture, the pressure of the championship and the mistakes you've made, and just exist in the moment when it matters most, is a massive advantage, and one that, at the moment, appears to be the deciding factor between two incredible drivers come the end of the season. Do you think Lando's approach to handling his mistakes is a problem? Do you believe he has what it takes to remove those mistakes from his driving and take the fight to Oscar? Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.